My name is Kate, and I'm 30 years old. I live just outside of Chicago with my husband, Luke. To anyone looking from the outside, we probably seemed like the picture of stability, maybe even enviable. Luke had this gentle way about him, a soft smile that instantly put people at ease. And me, I convinced myself that I had a handle on everything. I thought we were balanced, that our life worked. But all of that certainty unraveled one night, during an argument that changed everything. Luke was never loud or attention-seeking. He wasn't the type to dominate conversations or crack jokes to be the center of attention. His nature was quieter, more reflective, a little withdrawn at times. In the beginning, I actually liked that about him. His calmness gave me room to step in, to lead, and I thought that dynamic suited us. I was the one organizing our schedules, taking care of the bills, deciding what groceries to buy, where to spend weekends, which restaurant we'd try next. I told myself it was a partnership, that we complemented one another. But as months went by, the weight of always making every choice, always holding things together, began to wear me down. It felt less like balance and more like I was dragging both of us forward while he just drifted along. That night, nothing extraordinary happened at first. It was an ordinary weekday. Luke had made spaghetti for dinner, and we sat at the kitchen table like countless evenings before. But I was exhausted not just from work, but from the feeling of always being the one responsible for everything that kept our lives functioning. My frustration had been simmering for weeks, unspoken but constantly pressing against me. As we ate, it spilled over. I tried to keep my tone measured at first. I asked him about the bills again, reminding him that he hadn't helped with them in weeks. He looked up, face calm as ever, and in that quiet voice of his said, "I'll get to it. I didn't think it was urgent." That single phrase pierced something in me. Didn't think it was urgent. It was the same excuse I'd heard so many times before, and I snapped. My voice rose, the words spilling faster than I could control, that I carried all the responsibility, that I did everything for us, that he was blind to it all. And then, the cruelest blow, I called him useless. The word left my mouth, sharp and heavy, and instantly I regretted it. But the damage was done. Luke didn't argue back. He didn't yell. He didn't even look wounded. He simply stared at me with tired, weary eyes that seemed to hold something deeper than sadness. It was resignation, the kind of acceptance that cuts deeper than anger. He whispered an apology, gently pushed his plate away, and withdrew into silence. I stormed off, consumed by fury I couldn't shake. He didn't follow. He never did. That night, I sat in the living room, the television flickering while my thoughts burned. Why didn't he care enough to fight back? Why couldn't he just step up, just once? The next morning, he was gone before I woke. At first it seemed ordinary, his shoes still by the door, his jacket hanging neatly where he always left it. But something was missing. No fresh coffee waiting, no small note on the fridge with his familiar scrawl. The house felt emptier than it should have. I tried to dismiss the unease, but it only grew heavier as the day went on. When I got home that evening, I noticed an envelope on the counter. My name written in his neat handwriting. My chest tightened as I opened it, my hands trembling. Inside was a short letter, just a few lines, but every word struck me harder than the last. He admitted I was right, that he had been distant, that he hadn't been the partner I needed. He said he wanted to be enough for me, but he wasn't sure he ever could be. And then the words that shattered me: he was leaving. Not out of anger, but out of a quiet despair, a belief that he was failing me, that his presence only weighed me down. He hoped time apart might bring clarity. I read those lines again and again, until the letters blurred with tears. I could barely breathe. My words from the night before replayed in my head, sharp and venomous. I had called him useless, and now he believed it. I had pushed him away, and he was gone. Desperate, I called him. The phone rang endlessly before his voicemail picked up. My voice shook as I begged him to come back, told him I hadn't meant what I said, that we could fix it. But even as I spoke, I knew the truth. This wasn't something I could patch with a single apology. I had broken something fragile inside him, and it wasn't easily repaired. The days that followed stretched endlessly. No calls, no messages. The silence was unbearable. Each room in our home felt hollow, suffocating in its emptiness. For the first time, I understood how much I had relied on him, not just to share a space with me, but to share a life. I had convinced myself I didn't need him, that I could manage it all on my own. But without him, everything felt unsteady. I searched for him, even went to the small apartment he'd rented. I hoped, foolishly, that he'd be there, that I could catch him before he vanished completely. But when I arrived, the place was bare. He had already moved out, leaving nothing behind. Sitting on that cold floor, the reality sank in. He wasn't coming back. I had said words that couldn't be unsaid, and no matter how much I cried, no matter how much I wished to turn back time, the damage was done. I finally understood something I should have known long before. Words matter. They linger. They carve deep wounds even when spoken in anger. And sometimes, they drive the people we love the most away. Would you like me to expand this even further into something more like a short story with inner reflections and imagery, or keep it as a personal, emotional retelling?